Its energy surrounds us and binds us.
What is up, Marvel nerds, and welcome back to Carbonite Convos. If this is your first time joining us, you've just taken your first step into a larger world. And if this is not your first episode with us, we can't thank you enough for coming back to the Carbonite Convos podcast. Today is episode number 51, and with another brand new Marvel movie coming out this past weekend, you better believe what it's about. So Eternals hit theaters early Friday morning, Thursday night. Alec and I both saw it over the weekend, so we're not gonna break down the movie, but we are gonna give our thoughts, break down some of our key takeaways and just talk about the film. So thank you guys for joining us, whether you're on TikTok, tuning in live, or whether you're listening on a podcast platform or YouTube. Just thank you for tuning in. Alec, how we doing, man?
I'm great, bro. Thank you for asking. I'm, as always, happy to be here talking about some Marvel content. But before we dive into that, guys, as always, if you like what you see here, make sure you smash that like button. Drop a comment in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts, any predictions, hot takes, anything like that. Drop them in there. We read them all. We love to see them. Guys, make sure you subscribe as well. And let's just get right into this, man.
Yes, sir. So we already have a quick comment from TMU23. The movie was horrible. You do have the right to that opinion, but I respectfully 100% disagree. We have one more person saying it was horrible. Again, I think that came a lot from the critics as well. I went into it with an open mind, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I agree, man. I think that's a good way to kick off the episode. I thought this was an awesome movie. One complaint that I heard from people, I didn't have it. One complaint that I heard that it didn't connect with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think it did pretty well, but also something I had to go against that is, this was an origin story. I don't think they could have said nothing about Thanos and Iron Man and Cap and all that. And that doesn't take away that it's part of the MCU. Like when Captain America came out, yeah, Howard Stark was in it, but they weren't making all these name drops. I think this is an origin story, and that's, they have to focus on these 10 characters. You have to learn 10 people in the span of 2.5 hours, and you have to connect with all of them on a different level each. So, it's much different than what we've seen before.
Well, it's funny because, people make the same comparison about every Marvel movie like that's ever brand new in theaters. I remember seeing the Captain America, the First Avenger in theaters, and some people just did not like it. Oh, it's slow. Oh, it's boring, whatever it was. Again, like you just said, it's an origin story. It's not going to be the most fast-paced thing ever. You have to set up and you have to build, and especially in this movie, 10 characters. So that's going to be a huge chunk of the movie. And that's probably why it was so long. To be honest, I wanted to see even more of the origin story, which I feel like we'll see more eventually, just because we're talking about ancient magic and the forming of the universe and deities and all these things. Like you said, it's not supposed to connect. We're getting a new phase of the MCU, a new direction. Nick and I actually talked about it earlier. Like, we're talking about how the MCU is getting very extraterrestrial, but at the same time, there's other shows like Falcon Winter Soldier, this Hawkeye show that's coming out that still connect with real world issues and make it a little bit more on the human side. Grounded. But that's not what the point of this movie was. We are getting big, bad, universal threats. That's what this was based about.
Exactly. It starts off in the beginning. Clearly, those are the first 3 words of the Bible. So this is pretty much the MCU's Bible. Up until this point, we've heard about Celestials, and we've heard that the 6 singularities predate. The Celestials predate the 6 singularities, but which are the Infinity Stones, but
the expansion of the universe.
Yeah, those were the oldest things we've had up until this point. So this is truly like the MCU's Bible. In the beginning, there were Celestials. And that's how, in the MCU, we got here. But overall, I really enjoyed the movie. I love the direction Marvel is going. Like you said, I like that it's going in an extraterrestrial direction, but there still are these shows to keep us grounded because we need something to relate to. I think that's something that the MCU that really drew me in over the past decade is that although we're dealing with superheroes, we can relate to some of these characters,
Right. And dude, it's funny that you bring this up because I feel like a lot of people forget that, dude, these are comic books. Like, these are stories that have been around for a long time. Yes, they're adapted. Yes, they're changed a little bit to meet the time and place that we are alive today. But the story comes from comics, where there's levels on levels on levels of different, gods and celestials and eternals, and how it works as far as like immortality and like what the fate of the universe is going to be. That's what like we're finally getting, and that's the big part of the Marvel comic universe is based on that. That's where the majority of the problems come from, or people coming to the planet to seek destruction. More along the lines going past like saving the world, saving the entire being of the universe is what we're kind of getting into.
Definitely. So, going off the conversation of deities and gods and celestials, how did this movie, like, what were some of your thoughts just throughout the movie on a more spiritual level, if you had any?
I thought it was interesting, like how these Eternals were created. Like, where I don't know exactly. Is it how do you say Aramesh or
Erisham?
Erisham? Dude, the names are a little bit on the confusing side. I'm not gonna lie. So like, I did do a little bit of pre-reading in the theater just so I made sure I had all the names right, because obviously we have 10 characters and I'm gonna say it again, Erisham.
Yeah.
And Erisham, who's even above all of them. I want to know like what created Erisham, because obviously if there's someone who created the Eternals, someone had to have created him. I don't know if it's how he was explaining every million years a new celestial has to be born to replace the others. I don't know if he's above that or what exactly, but I'd like to get a little bit more explanation of kind of how that works. And I feel like we're going to get that with obviously the direction that we're heading.
I disagree that something had to create him. Something might have created him, but if you compare, what I've done in the MCU is tried to compare it to real life, specifically, my spirituality, my, religion, because I'm a Christian and everything. So I've always tried to see similarities between, religion and the MCU, and there's a lot, but this movie, one big thing in spirituality is, someone had to have created God, but no one did create him. He was, it's hard to explain, but he was here. He existed. So I don't know if Irisham is that top god in the MCU, one of the top gods in the MCU, that they weren't created. They have just existed as long as the universe, before the universe. Mm-hmm. But I think it's very possible that Erisham could be the universe's god, because you hear him talking about coming back for judgment, having the power to pretty much destroy the universe.
No, that's interesting, because obviously I'm going to base it on the comics here. Like, comic wise, the top being in the comic universe, I guess it would technically be us, but in canon comics, there is the character of the one above all, who is a representation of humans looking into this comic universe, like writing what happens and drawing the pictures. And in the comics, we've gotten like look-ins of characters interacting with the one above all and kind of breaking the fourth wall type of thing. I don't know if that's ever possible for the MCU. I don't think it's out of the equation, because for instance, in Loki, we had moments where he broke the fourth wall all the time and kind of like stared into the camera and made like a connection with you. And obviously those were purposely put in there. So I don't know if that's ever going to be a thing, but obviously we don't know what's coming in the MCU. Like 10 years ago, would we have ever thought that these celestials were going to be like the new big godly beings that control the fate of the universe and the expansion of the universe? Absolutely not. So there's no telling what it's going to be in 2 years from now, after phase 4 is over, after obviously, whatever direction again we're going to be heading in. We have no idea what we could possibly get. And what's fun about it is they can make up whatever they want on top of all of it, and we can't do anything about it. Like, that's just what it is, you know?
No, I agree. And I thought a lot. We talked about it last week, and we talked about it a lot in the past about us, us humans and our, our real reality being a character in the MCU, kind of being the one above all. I thought about that a lot during this film because I not epiphany or anything like that, but I felt very like peaceful throughout this whole movie, just thinking about how it relates to religion and spirituality and all of that, because you're dealing with a very heavy subject. So I left the theater and I was trying to think of the perfect word I was thinking of, because I've heard a word in the past, but I still, to this day, I haven't been able to put my tongue on that exact word. So I was doing a lot of research online, trying to find what word I'm thinking of. But the closest one that I found was Yugen, which is a Japanese, it has Japanese origins, and a couple definitions are: one, it means an awareness of the universe that triggers an emotional response too deep and mysterious for words. So that's definitely how I felt. And then translated from like traditional Kyoto, Yujin is an important concept in traditional Japanese aesthetics, where it means a profound, mysterious sense of the beauty of the universe and the sad beauty of human suffering. So that's what I was thinking about that a lot during the movie. And I'm still trying to find that perfect word that I know exists and I've heard before. But I was when you look at the universe, you see the giant head floating above the world. You see this being holding a galaxy in its hand. It really makes you realize not how insignificant we are, but kind of how insignificant our problems are. And I don't know, like I was thinking very deep throughout this entire movie, but I enjoyed that.
That's so interesting you say that, because I kind of had a very similar feeling, and not necessarily like in the same boat you're thinking, but what it made me kind of realize in real life and in the MCU, dude, there's really no such thing as good and evil. It's obviously all from your point of view, but like you said, like our problems in the big picture do not matter. You know what I'm saying? Like Arishem, for instance, like he is obviously supposed to be the villain in this movie, but in reality, he's not like a bad guy. He's doing what he was born to do, and that's to expand the universe. These Eternals obviously just came to their senses a little bit and formed a passion for humanity itself, because I don't know how with all the memory erasing and stuff, and maybe they're just at the right time and place to save humanity. There's no good, there's no bad. Like, everyone's just doing their job. They're just fighting against each other to, try to prove themselves right in some sort of way.
No, I agree. And I'm sure more of this kind of talk will come out throughout the episode, but I really love, this kind of conversation, because this is kind of the kind of stuff you and I have off camera. But it's cool that we were able to relate it to the MCU. So kind of looking at the movie for what it is, let's go into the characters. First off, what was your favorite character?
No question.
Wait.
Gilgamesh.
Okay, I was going to say your favorite Eternal.
My favorite Eternal was Gilgamesh. 100%. I was pissed when he died, man. I'm not going to lie. I don't know what it was. To me, he was the most grounded of all of them. To me, and honestly, bro, he might have been, besides Icarus, before all this happened, like, he was probably the second strongest in my opinion. Obviously before Cersei was able to like really figure out her powers, and obviously now she's probably the strongest of the group, but Gilgamesh was able to take down Athena, the literally goddess of war, who is the greatest woman warrior in the entire, I don't know if you want to say galaxy or what, but he was able to take her down almost kind of easily. Yeah. So I thought his powers were super useful. Obviously, he's the brawler of the group, but at the same time, he was kind of the caretaker. Like, he cooked for Athena. He took care of her, always made sure she was safe, except for that week trip he took to, was it Tahiti? I think he said. Yeah. I don't know. I kind of related with him a lot. I thought he was funny. I just liked him. You know what I mean?
I don't know the actor's real name, but he was some type of fighter in the past. I don't know if it was UFC or wrestling. He was some type of fighter. So that's why he has very legit, a very legit fighting style. That's why his punches look so real when he's doing it, because he's done that in real life before. He's handed that punch, and I would not want to be on the other side of that.
Who was your favorite?
Mine was Kingo.
Okay, he was up there for me too. He crushed it. He was hilarious.
I liked him because he was super funny, super funny. Obviously my favorite character in the entire MCU is Captain America, and I thought it was cool. I don't know if you noticed these, but I think it was cool, the couple Captain America references that he had. Did you see those?
Remind me again. There was so much that happened. This is definitely a movie we need to rewatch. I feel like we missed a lot. So going back and seeing it a second or third time is definitely essential.
Yeah. So in his Bollywood movie, you can tell the warriors in the back, they had shields, and they weren't blue, but they were red. They had the three circles, and they had a star in the middle. So you could tell that it was modeled after Captain America. And
I didn't catch that.
In his private jet, what's interesting is he had an original Captain America shield, so the one from the first Avenger. Now, what's very interesting about this is I can't remember what character said it, but in the MCU, I think it was in a recent show, something very recent, the character said, everything you see in museums is fake. Everything. It's all owned. All the real artifacts and real items are owned by the world's elite, by the rich. And what's interesting is Kingo is very rich. So I wonder, although Captain America's shield is supposed to be in the Smithsonian, I wonder if that is the real Cap shield hanging in his jet. Because if everything in the museums are fake, I think him being around for so many generations and being so rich, I think it could be very possible that it's actually Cap's shield.
That's interesting. It's kind of like the same thing how Thrawn has Grand Admiral Thrawn has Grievous's faceplate thing. It's kind of the same thing.
It is.
It's super interesting. So while we're on the topic, real quick, we'll come back to the characters in a second. Dude, we got to talk about all the Star Wars references in this movie. It was great. Tell me that wasn't a crawl at the very beginning of the movie.
I think that's what it was supposed to look like.
That's what I thought it was at first. I'm like, no way they're doing this. This is super cool. And then obviously we had the coloring book or comic book, whatever it was. When Icarus went to smash the table, was it Icarus who smashed the table?
Yeah.
That was great.
And then Phastos' son, he had the Star Wars comic book. He had a Star Wars coloring page hung up on the wall. I thought that was so cool.
I thought it was so funny how now Star Wars and DC Comics are both canon in the MCU.
And what's funny is Marvel Comics made Star Wars comics.
I know.
So I just think
it's wild.
Really,
it's wild because it makes it seem like it made it seem like you were if we were transported into the MCU, life would kind of be the same to an extent. Like obviously there's superheroes flying around and stuff, but there's still comic books, there's still movies, there's still all these fandoms that exist in real life that are inside the MCU. I just thought that was great.
No, and I was really
Marvel knows their fan base. I think that was a direct shout out for them.
And in the commercials, we never heard Superman's name.
Right.
But we knew they were talking about Superman. But in the movie, we hear the name Superman. So we hear Superman and we hear him talk about Batman and
and Alfred.
Yeah, and Alfred. So I thought that's just super cool that we're getting these cameo, the name drops of these other these other fandoms. I don't think DC would have the balls to drop a Marvel thing like that. I don't know.
I mean, I'd love if they did. I think that'd be
cool. I don't know if they're really that adventurous.
Okay, let's get back on. Let's go back on topic with these characters. I'd love to kind of go through each one and kind of talk about our thoughts on them a little bit. So if you're cool with it, you want to just start with Icarus?
Dude, I'm down. I liked him. I liked Icarus a lot. Too. He was very quiet. I was very upset to find out that he was, again, I don't think he's the villain, but to find out that he was the antagonist by the end.
Right.
when you think about what he went through, what in his mind he's going through, the other Eternals are his family, but
Right.
Irishem is his god. So he has his family turning on his god. That's got to be a hard decision to make.
It's got to be super tough because I think it's even more above that. Yes, it's his family. Yes, it's his god. But he was designed for one purpose, and that is to serve Arishem and help with the expansion of the universe with the, what was it called? Not the expansion, but the
emergence.
The emergence. His job was to make the emergence happen. Yeah. And now all of a sudden, all of his family members, the closest people to him, are saying that he's wrong and that the purpose that he was created for is not right. So I'd probably have a hard time with that too. Like, I can only imagine, like, okay, I've been around for millennia and everything I've ever done was actually wrong. Like,
yeah.
So do I turn against everything I've ever known, or do I change my life in this direction? Like, I don't know if I'd be able to pick, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's where, me and my girlfriend, after the movie, she was like, I hated Icarus. She was like, he was an evil, all this. And her and I talked about it, and I was like, he's not evil. Like, and
not
that's
at
where
all.
I explained to her,
because dude, he still loved Cersei. He still loved all his family members. He didn't want to hurt any of them.
No. And that's where I kind of talked with her. I explained to her my thoughts of what I just said to you about God and all this. She was like, yeah, that's a good point. So, it must have been hard for him. And the same goes for Kingo, because he said, I still follow Arishem, but I won't kill you. I won't kill my family.
I won't stoop to exactly.
I won't do that. So he left, which sucks, because I really enjoyed Kingo.
I would have loved to see him more in the final battle a little bit, man.
Maybe they're saving his powers to.
Dude, he's strong. It was funny because I was looking up like the list, and I'm like, oh, okay, I need to kind of read up on what their powers are. And literally the description for him was literally finger guns. Like, like, I'm like, yeah, it's a pretty good explanation of what it was. Yeah. Anything else about Icarus you wanted to talk about?
Yeah. Did you think he had to kill himself at the end?
Is he dead?
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know, man.
I mean,
I don't know if it.
Dude, he burned up in the sun. He definitely.
But okay, it's interesting that obviously, like the story of Icarus, the boy who flew too close to the sun. Okay, yeah. I don't know. I'm not 100% sold that he's dead, because with that story being so prevalent and basically made up, and with the fact that the Celestials are basically, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but to me, when Arishem explained it, that they're given powers through like powers of different stars and suns and stuff like that, I thought it was too ironic that he flew into the sun. I don't know if that would actually end up making him stronger, if that would immediately kill him, if that was just to play off the story. I don't know. And I'm not saying he's alive. I'm not saying he's dead. I genuinely have no idea what it is, but I just thought it was too specific of a story for him to just kind of go away forever.
See, I thought it, and you could be right. Personally, I think he's dead, and I think the specificity of that was just to line up with Sprite's story about him. He flew too close to the sun. Like, it's like poetic that's how he dies. So let's say that he is dead. I think that sucks because, like I said, I don't think he's a villain. So I think he left the conflict. He left the conflict. I don't know if he wanted to avoid judgment. I don't know if he would be judged. Well, yeah, because in the end he helped them. But I think he is gone, but I think that's kind of a waste, because I think he could be a very powerful ally in the future of the MCU.
Well, he said it himself. He could lead the Avengers.
Yeah. So
I think he'd be right. He looked like he'd be a quality leader. Like, he obviously stands up for what he believes in and sees things through. It's obviously, I don't know if we're
on the wrong side of it.
On this one, he was just on the wrong side, and that happens,
Yeah. I hope you're right, though, because if he does come back, they would have to explain, obviously it's not real science, but explain the MCU science behind him,
of how he was able to go to the sun and live.
Yeah, kind of like you just did, because their power comes from stars, I guess, or whatever. Like, they'd
something
have to
like
explain
that. Yeah.
that. Yeah, but overall, I really liked Icarus.
Mm-hmm.
I liked his relationship with Cersei.
Cersei was great.
I loved Cersei.
Cersei was really cool. And do you think now she's stronger than Icarus?
Well, since he's dead, yeah.
Well, okay, if he was still alive.
I don't know.
It's interesting because their powers aren't really comparable. They're
exactly
so different. But like the fact she can turn anything into anything.
Yeah.
Literally, she turned a deviant into a tree. Like that's OP, bro.
Yeah.
That is OP.
The scene where they're all doing it together reminded me a lot of Guardians of the Galaxy.
When they're grabbing the Power Stone.
Yeah, because the power, they're stronger when they're together. And I didn't know, but in the comics, at one point they actually become one being. So can you imagine one being with all the powers?
With all those powers?
Speaking of that, how about, taking a slight detour again from the characters, the deviants, the way they were able to take the power of the person that they killed, that reminded me a lot of this Doctor Strange in What If. I can't remember what the exact spell is called, but essence transfer. Is that what it's called?
I think you're right. I think you're right.
But that's also what Palpatine used for his clones. But the essence transfer, because they take the life from the beings and now they have their powers. So it's interesting.
They literally took the life force.
I know.
It's the exact same thing.
I know. So it's interesting seeing, the evolution of the deviants. And
do you think, okay, while we're talking about that real quick, the scene with Athena and the main deviant, he had a name, I don't remember. When he starts speaking as Gilgamesh, do you think that was him literally using the life force of Gilgamesh, or was that him just trying to trick Athena?
Well, I think they kind of,
or a little bit of both.
I think it goes hand in hand, because he now has Gilgamesh's mind, so he knows how to
use it.
Yeah, not seduce Athena in like a sexual way, but seduce her into. Well, more like coerce her, whatever the word is, to doing what he wants. But they had a romantic relationship in the comics, Athena and that deviant. So I think that was kind of played out in that scene in the cave, because he's rubbing her face with his tentacle or whatever it is,
and her eyes are, what was it called? Mad
weary.
Mad weary. It's super interesting because, well, one. Let's talk about Athena for just a second. I was a little disappointed in her. I thought she was a badass in general. I wish she would have been more relevant in the movie because I thought her powers were super dope. I liked the connection with Olympia and all that. Obviously, it ended up being a fake place. But I thought she was super cool. I want to know the connection between her, Eros, Thanos. Obviously, they're all Titan related. Also, something I just found out, I didn't know this before. The only reason Thanos is purple is because he is part deviant.
Yeah.
I did not know that before this. So with the whole Mad Weary thing, I'm curious if they obviously never really called Thanos the Mad Titan, except for maybe one or two times that Ebony Maw did throughout Infinity War or Endgame, because in the MCU, Thanos wasn't mad. He wasn't crazy. He wasn't infatuated with Lady Death like he was in the comics. So his whole reasoning for wiping out half of humanity or half of all life in existence was a little bit different than it typically would have been in the comics. So I'm wondering if they're going to use this Mad Weary to kind of expand on that thought process that Thanos has in the comics, and maybe Athena's going to have it now, or what they're going to do with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have no clue, to be honest. I can't. I don't really know what to say. I have no clue if they could.
Just a thought.
No,
it's something to keep in the back of your mind a little bit.
No, I think that'd be pretty cool. And going off of Athena, I think we're going to see more of her. So maybe we just haven't seen her true. We've seen what she can do. I think they have to select a few characters to really focus on in the movies, because you can't have all 10 of them just going all out. So we saw a lot of Icarus because most likely this might be the only movie we see him in. So we see him a lot. I think we saw Gilgamesh a decent amount. Yeah.
Yeah.
We saw Cersei pretty frequently. So I think they had to focus on a few characters and what they can do so they can leave room to really explore the other characters' powers in future films.
You know, it's I have an interesting thought real quick while we're still talking about Athena. So obviously Olympia is that's
fake.
Greek mythology, right?
Yeah.
So Olympia's fake, okay?
But it's real place on Earth though.
But is it because like they obviously like
well in real life it's a real place on Earth.
I would love to see what would happen between like Athena and like if she ever met Thor, because we know that this Nordic mythology is real in the MCU, but now this Greek mythology that it's based on isn't real. So I'd love to see like the conversation between the two of them. Athena thinking she's a god, Thor being a god, and kind of just what would happen between the two of them, you know?
Looking ahead another 10 years, at some point, there has to be another Endgame style battle.
Big mashup.
There has to be something where almost all the heroes team up to take down the opposing force. There has to. So, we might be able to see this in the future. Who knows if Thor will be around that long or if Athena will, but it's kind of hard to get rid of gods.
Right. They're immortal.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless they're killed.
Well, no, Thor's not immortal.
To an extent, like he's going to live for a long time unless he's killed.
God.
I'd like to talk about how do you say it? Fastos. I liked him a lot, bro. Tell me, him manipulating the technology was not just like Tony Stark using his AI technology to design his suits and stuff.
No, I know, it was really cool.
It was exactly the same, bro. The scene in Hiroshima, that one got me, man. It was crazy because like, for some reason, I felt like I immediately went into his shoes, and I can only imagine the guilt he was feeling, knowing that he single-handedly helped the human race expand their technology, and due to that technology that he created, all this travesty happened.
And that's why he quit.
But I really liked that for him, because I personally thought he crushed it, like in the role of being a father and a partner, and just being an overall human, even though he's still immortal. I thought it was great, like seeing how these people, or space robots, whatever they really are, could still live a human life. I thought that was great, dude. I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it goes to show the emotions that they have and how they can connect with us, because being human, both in the MCU and in real life, there's nothing like it. Just the amount of evil there is in the world, but also the amount of love and compassion and joy that we have. It was amazing to see it change the minds of these Eternals in the MCU. I think that says a lot about Ajak, her being kind of the mother of this group. To have her being the main not translator, but the main point of contact with Irisham, to have it directly change her mind, I think that's incredible, because she goes to say, Thanos wiped out half the population, and with the snap of a finger, they were able to bring everybody back. It goes to show, the resiliency of the human spirit and everything. So I thought that was awesome. And we'll go ahead.
Like to your point about Ajak, real quick, like you're absolutely right. Like she said it herself, she always followed Irisham up until that exact moment, even when she saw mass people being killed. What's the word I'm looking for? Communities being taken over, people killing people, like where they could have easily stepped in and helped. They thought they were serving the higher purpose by not stepping in. And then once they figured out that they were actually not doing the right thing, they changed. And they changed like that. And obviously like they were going in the right direction before Icarus decided to kill her. So I thought that was like really cool to show like the moral compass of the Eternals as a whole.
Well, you think of they don't remember it, but they've seen this happen who knows how many times, probably countless times. And the fact that Earth, with the Avengers, with just the human life, it was Earth that made these eternal beings change their mind and go against their creator, because they were like I said, the resiliency of the human spirit to live and to fight on. We are what made them change their mind. I thought that was so crazy hearing Ajax in that scene with Icarus.
Well, Ajax remembers everything. She's the only one that didn't have her memory wiped. So I think that is even more powerful about all of that, because she remembered everything, and it was the human race, the human population that decided to change her mind with her knowing everything else.
Yeah, dude, I think that's awesome.
I agree.
It's kind of like no words can really. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it with words.
Right. Okay. So, let's move on to how do you say it? Is it Makai?
Makari. Well, hold on. Let's finish on Ajax really quick.
Okay.
Because like she has, I just read today that Selma Hayek, the actress, has confirmed that she will be in future MCU films. So I think that's super interesting. Going back to what you were talking about earlier in the episode, saying, you want more of an origin story. I think, that is an inclination that either we're going to get flashbacks of these characters having a relationship with Ajax, or we're going to get a movie even set more in the past. I don't know. I can't imagine that, but
that's
the fact that she's going to be in more movies, I think that's a big.
I could see her being more like a spirit guide for Cersei. Like, obviously there was a strong connection between the two of them. Ajax picked Cersei to take her place if anything were to ever happen. And with that orb that, she's able to use, there's a coincidence. It's more than a coincidence that enters your body. So I feel like even if you die, that thing, it has a part of you in it in some capacity forever. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like you said, obviously she's going to be around. I don't see them spending a lot of time like explaining her past, because like we kind of do get the gist of what the Eternals are kind of about, I guess, after really thinking about it. So again, I can kind of see her being more of a spirit guide, like Cersei, like obviously being kind of confused about the direction that she's supposed to go in. Maybe something big happens in her life and she has to make a huge decision. And that's when we see Ajax again. Maybe she does some meditation or something and summons her somehow, and it is able to talk to her and get her guidance. I could see that being a possible thing.
Oh, for sure. Either way, she's going to be in future films, so I think that's really exciting. But you wanted to go to Makari,
dude. Okay, first off, I can't necessarily relate, but for her to be the first deaf superhero, I can only imagine like that being a very empowering thing for the deaf and hard of hearing community. I feel like that's huge. Like,
and the fact that this whole movie had subtitles, and because Payman, my old college roommate, he was deaf in one ear and he had to use a hearing aid in the other ear because it was as close to being deaf as you could be without being fully deaf. But if you took it out, he can't hear. So every time we watched TV, movies, we had to watch them with the closed captionings, and he didn't really like going to the movie theaters because he can't really understand what's going on. So I told him about it, that this whole movie was it had subtitles and just exactly how you'd watch it with closed captions at in your home. I know he got really excited, so I think that is super cool of Marvel to do. And I wonder if that's going to be just this movie, or if they're.
I don't know, because I actually watched an interview with her this morning, just a couple minutes of it real quick, and this was before the movie came out. But she was on her way to this interview, and she said she looked up, and she was like driving through Times Square, and she looked up and saw the trailer playing for Eternals, and literally saw herself up there signing some part of the movie, some big battle scene, or I don't know. And she said she like right in that moment lost it, because there's her, a deaf person who had I can only imagine a lot of things going against her in life. And now she's literally on the biggest screen imaginable, representing a community that hasn't really been represented before. Dude, that's great, man. That's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, congrats. That's all I can say. Like, that's huge.
No, I thought that was really cool. Definitely.
I loved
Character's
seeing
awesome too.
Character's awesome. Dude, how about all the artifacts she had? Like all these missing pieces of human history, and they're all literally chilling in their ship.
Yeah.
The one that stuck out to me in particular, and we talked about this very briefly earlier, when Icarus picks up the sword that she has in the ship, he picks it up and looks at her and says, "Oh, the ebony blade," and she signs something. I can't remember exactly what it was. Maybe it's something along the lines of like, "Oh, yep, got that from King Arthur, Knights of the Round Table himself." But it turns out in the post-credit scene, obviously we see Kit Harington's character, who Black Knight, he actually has the ebony blade, so that would technically make that sword that Makkari has Excalibur.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So again, it's cool seeing all these ancient artifacts that people have been searching for millennia that are just chilling right there.
No, exactly. And going off of that and other artifacts, it's interesting that just the historical aspect of this entire movie, how they were there for some of the most crucial times in human history, and that they really helped forward our not evolution, but our progress as a species. Both Phastos, also when Cersei gives the little boy the gold
dagger,
it moves them out of the Bronze Age into, I don't know where they moved into, but into a different age. So I just thought it was super cool, just the historical relevance that this movie had.
I like that they had to keep Phastos in check about how much technology he gave them at a time, because
he's giving them engine,
the steam engine, and it's like 200 BC, and it's like, okay, no, let's give them the plow instead, so they can fertilize crops and feed each other and all that. I'm like, wow, like what if the steam engine would have been given to them 5,000 years ago? Like where would we be as the human race today?
Hover cars.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yes, sir.
Pretty much.
While we're talking about Makkari, we can kind of loop in Druig with that, because they have a very interesting relationship. He's a very interesting character in general.
I did not care for him, bro.
Really?
I'm not gonna lie. I just didn't like the energy he gave up. I thought it was kind of I don't know how to explain it. I just thought he was kind of sketchy.
Well, I think he
I was surprised he wasn't the antagonist, to be completely honest.
Well, I could see that he wasn't going to be the main antagonist of the movie, because if they make it that clear that something's kind of off, there's no way that they're going to follow through to the end. So I wasn't surprised that he wasn't the antagonist, but I think that he realized early on that his main purpose to follow Arisha might not be the right one, that he had the compassion for our species to help, and he was being told that he couldn't. So I think at some point he had to be that douchebag that just questioned everything and had to step apart. So I don't know, like, they make a good point that we can't advance as a species without conflict, unfortunately, but I think he was coming at it from the right place. But I thought he was an interesting character for sure.
Absolutely. I was disappointed. I was not disappointed, but like I was kind of excited to see him try and take over Erishem's mind. Obviously that didn't happen, and I don't know if that would have been possible. He probably would have just been immediately killed if he tried that. But how cool would it have been to see him literally possess a celestial?
Yeah. No, I know.
That would have been insane. It
was really cool. And Druig's relationship with Makkari was just very interesting, to say the least. I don't know. It was cool. You just see them signing back and forth to each other. It didn't seem there wasn't a main focus on the relationship as there was with Icarus and Cersei, but you could tell that they just really cared for each other. They really missed each other throughout the years, and that it was something that they could just pick up the next time they saw each other.
Absolutely. Anybody else you want to dive into specifically, or?
Well, we didn't really go into Cersei too much yet.
Okay,
We went into a little bit of Phastos.
Yeah,
I'd say Phastos and Cersei, and we didn't talk at all about Sprite yet.
I was saving Sprite for last just because there's a lot going on with that.
Yeah, and I like, we didn't talk a lot about Kingo, but there wasn't too much to talk about other than his driver.
He was great.
I absolutely
he was great. Dude, the scene where he when Kingos is leaving and he goes, I truly appreciate you letting me be here, everything you've done for humanity. I'll truly miss you guys. I'm not gonna lie, man. That got me a little bit. Yeah, it was genuine as hell.
Because you see him, he knows that it's most likely he's going to die very soon.
Right.
So it's like he thinks it's a privilege just to be among them and to just share time with them. And man, that is where, in a movie about celestials, eternals, pretty much immortal beings, just to see the humanity in it and the good in humanity. You are exactly right. That got me. I know that got Rosemary too. Excuse me. That got Rosemary too. That was a tough scene to watch, but it wasn't in a bad, I shouldn't say tough scene. It was very heartfelt, and I don't know, it stuck with me for sure. Obviously,
I definitely don't think that's the last we've seen of him. How funny would it be? Eternals 2, or whenever the next time we're going to see Kingos, whenever that may be. Kingo.
Only one.
Plural. And no, because there's his grandfather, his great grandfather.
True. Shoot.
Dude. Anyways, the next time what was the driver's name? I can't remember.
I can't remember his name.
Whatever.
Off the top.
Eternals 2's coming around. I bet.
What if it was filmed
start
from
exactly just like
Homecoming.
Like Homecoming. Yeah, how he was, filming in Germany and all this stuff. We're gonna get a home movie of this end of the world fight to start the next movie.
How about Kingo when he destroys the deviant? He says, "Did you get that?"
Yep.
And he's like, "Yep, I got it." Yeah,
well, because he says something specific, like he does his little hand thing. It's like boom, and he kills him.
Yeah.
Did you get that,
dude? That was awesome.
Yes, I did.
Great is arguably one of the best characters in the movie.
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
So we're good with. Sorry, I have a little image of all of them. We went through the top row. We went through Kingo. Is there anything else you have on Phastos? I thought he was incredible.
I thought he was great too. If anyone has any other thoughts on any of these characters so far, make sure you drop a comment in the chat right here. We'll talk about it. We'll say the comment. Whatever y'all think, drop it in there.
Yes, sir. So let's get to Sprite. Coca-Cola.
Okay. I'm genuinely surprised that she did not turn earlier because, in my knowledge, in the comics, in the story where they all lose their memories like the first time, it's because Sprite casts the spell on all of them to make them forget everything. That's what I was kind of expecting to happen just off my very, very brief internet search and research of the characters and all that going into the movie. That's what I thought was going to happen. Obviously it did not. Dude, she got on my damn nerves, man.
Yeah, Rosemary hated her.
It's weird because, one, if I was born in a way where I didn't grow and I was always looked at as like a child, always made fun of, always called small, even though she's actually super powerful, I'd be upset too. It's literally bullying is what it is. Like, that's where a lot of villain origin stories come from, are being picked on and bullied and being made fun of for things they can't control. So I get why she was salty about the whole thing. I really do. But at the same time, I felt with her because there were a couple scenes where she was heartfelt about it. Like, why was I made this way? Why was I cursed to look like this forever? I want to be a grown up. I want to have a family. Like,
yeah,
I felt that.
I loved the comparisons with Peter Pan. I thought that was a perfect fit.
Yeah.
I thought it was super interesting when they show that Sprite was in love with Icarus, but like Tinkerbell and Peter Pan, it could never
work.
Now, you know what? I saw something where if you go back and look, when Cersei and Icarus got married, all of them are smiling except Icarus. She
Or I
just
guess
has a
Sprite.
yeah. I'm sorry. Yes, all of them are smiling except Sprite. Like just all of them are very happy for them except Sprite's right there. Obviously, she's in the front, but she has a very salty look on her face. So you could tell very early on that she did not
Did not care for the relationship.
yeah, that she wanted to be with Icarus. And
It
then
sucks
you could
because she loves Cersei too. Like she didn't have
Yeah.
anything against Cersei.
she really quick also in that scene, you see Athena. She doesn't really have a very happy face on. It's kind of a
Mhm.
questionable face, and we find out that she never trusted Icarus. So I thought that was really interesting early on. I didn't understand why Sprite had to try to kill Cersei. Well, actually, no, I do because they were trying to go against Erisham.
I thought that's funny you bring that up because I thought Cersei forgave her way too easy.
Yeah,
It's just kind of like, oh, you stabbed me, almost killed me. I'll make you a human.
I think maybe it was because
She understood.
yeah, she understood. Yeah, I don't know. Their relationship is really interesting as well. Just the beings
I thought they
on one
all
level.
kind of. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, all of the characters on an individual level, but then their relationships with certain other characters. It was just very interesting. I thought they did a really good job bringing in all these characters and a good job helping you remember their names because I was proud that by the end of the movie, I could remember almost all of them.
Mhm.
And now it still takes me like a quick second to think because they're not normal names
Right.
that we're used to. But I'm surprised that I'm pretty much caught up on them.
For sure. So what do you got on Cersei?
I loved her. A lot.
Would you say she's the most powerful of them now, or
It's hard to say because it's such a different. It's hard to compare
all
powers.
the powers are so different?
Yeah, exactly.
They were designed specifically like to work as a team, which I find super cool.
So I don't know. I can't really answer that. I just think she's different in the fact that Ajax chose her. So
Right.
that obviously says something about her as I was going to say as a person, but
I thought it was funny the scene where
robot.
where Kingo is recording and interviewing it. Oh, Sprite, tell me about yourself, and she disappears. And then, okay, Cersei, you tell me about herself. And for some reason, she's like, oh, I could turn a rock into flowers. Oh, I could turn a rock into feathers. Oh, I could turn a rock. Like, why a rock?
Well,
like,
up until that point, you really only saw her turn stuff
like heavy objects.
Well,
like
you only saw her turn things made of stone into something else. So maybe at that point, that's all she knew she could turn into because we see, I think it was like a meteor, the stone dagger, the fossil hanging that almost crushed the little kid. That's stone. At that point, we had only seen her change stone material, things made out of stone into something else. So, well, no, I'm sorry, except the bus. So never mind.
Except true
The
that.
bus, yeah.
Yeah, but again, like heavy object, like
maybe like
objects
more
that are
solid.
like moving like at someone, gonna crush them. Okay, I'm gonna change it into feathers so it doesn't hurt anybody.
I was thinking maybe more like solid, like metal, iron, stone.
Well,
maybe they didn't know
like earth.
Yeah, exactly.
Like metals and such. Yes, absolutely. So my thought is now that she can manipulate like organic matter into anything, do we know exactly where in the timeline this takes place? Like obviously like it's all throughout human history, but like the big fight at the end, like where in the timeline does that take place? They haven't really said that yet, right?
No, I think based on Ajax's conversation with Icarus, I think it's very close I think it is very closely in time related to the blip when when they brought everybody back
shortly after. Sure.
Yeah.
The reason I ask is because at what point in the new movies, the new shows, is this thing that was growing out of the planet somewhere out in the middle of the ocean going to be talked about? Like, obviously that's going to make the news, right? Like, is this going to be talked about in Hawkeye?
They're already talking about it on the news in this movie.
Exactly. So like, where does it, if it takes place shortly after the blip, like why was it not talked about at all in WandaVision or Falcon Winter Soldier, anything along those lines? I can imagine that's probably because they didn't want to reveal it yet. But like going forward, is it going to be talked about in Hawkeye? Is it going to be talked about in Spider-Man, Doctor Strange? Like, this has to come up again.
Oh, and I think it will. You know
what I mean?
Going off of that, though, it's interesting how our minds, like the minds of humans in the MCU, it's almost like there's a wrinkle in time. For example, when Irisham pops up and takes, I can't remember exactly, it was Cersei. What 3 did he take for Judge? At the very end, Irisham comes, and the 3 remaining Eternals on Earth. Who was that?
So that would be Sprite did not go.
No,
right?
Sprite didn't go. I think it was Cersei. Was it
Kingo?
Fastos? No, I don't think Kingo went because
Fastos was there. Yes.
Okay, so Fastos, Cersei, and Athena. No, Athena was not.
Athena's on the ship. They're going out to look for more Eternals. Maybe
it was Kingo, but either way, when Irisham comes and takes them, you see us, the humans going about their day in the park. They see this big storm come up. You see the 6 lights in the sky for his eyes. You see them come, and then they take Cersei. You see Cersei being,
taken into space, right?
Into space. And then you see the humans kind of rewind and go about their daily business, unknowing that it happened.
Okay. I was confused right there. Because like, example, they showed a guy getting on his bike and like riding away, like not even like super fast or anything like that. I was confused. I'm like, why are people not freaking out?
Yeah, it's because
I didn't catch that.
Well, that's where right before it happens, it was in what was his name? Dane, Kit Harington's character. He was interrupted. He was mid-sentence about to talk about his lineage of the Black Knight. He was interrupted right there. I was like, oh shoot, what was he about to say about who he is? So I was like, he's somebody very important. And we already knew that, but I was like, okay, let's hear the story. He's interrupted by Irisham in the sky. And then all the other humans kind of go back to what they were doing almost in a like rewind sort of fashion. Like it rewinds a little bit and then it continues, except for him. Because if you look around, he's the only one that after she gets taken still notices that something happened. And that's where I was 100% on board that I was like, okay, we know he's Black Knight, but
like the level of what Black Knight is, like he's very powerful.
Exactly. So I thought that was awesome. And Rosemary didn't catch it either. I was like, yo, did you see that? She was like, what? I was like, he's the only one that noticed. That's how you can tell he's someone. You can tell he's something. But yeah, that was
crazy.
That was awesome.
I'm excited to see the direction they go with Black Knight, because like looking at his
really quick before we get into Black Knight, let's finish off really quick with Sprite, because Black Knight has a really like
a whole bunch of stuff going on.
Do you think, although Sprite is human, do you think she has any powers still?
I don't know if she still has powers, but I don't know. I don't know how to answer that, because no, I don't. I think the powers that she had are probably gone.
Yeah.
I feel like we've probably seen the last of her, to be honest.
You think?
I think so. And
maybe she'll pop up somehow.
Maybe if we do, it would. I don't think it would be anything huge. Maybe she comes and like helps Cersei in like a time of need or something along those lines. But I don't see it being any sort of large role.
Can you imagine being turned into a human and going through life? One, knowing you're going to die eventually, but 2, living through all that you have for thousands and thousands of years,
and then having to go to school. Like,
yeah, she's gonna be late to class. Can you imagine? Gosh,
no, I can't. I can't.
She's gonna be on the honor roll.
Yep.
So let's get to Black Knight.
Okay, so I'm excited to see the spin or the direction they go with Black Knight, because like in the comics, his like superhero look is cool to an extent, but dude, I can only imagine they have to do a dope ass redesign, especially for the fact that Kit Harington played Jon Snow.
Yeah.
And like the Black Knight and the Knights of the Watch and like the whole Game of Thrones vibe, it's a missed opportunity if they don't make it dope as hell.
Yeah.
It's a missed opportunity. It's what it is.
I agree 100%. I'm really excited to see where they go with him in the future. And the thing is, we're not going to, for those of you listening, we're not going to explain like his history or anything like that, because like even trying to read up on Black Knight after the movie, there is so much that he's involved in. He was involved with the Avengers on numerous occasions. He was a part of the Masters of Evil. Obviously, he wasn't evil. He was trying to infiltrate them from within. But Black Knight is a very significant character, and he's just one of a long line of Black Knights. And I think it's cool that they name dropped his uncle, because
yes,
in the his uncle is the one that explained his history to him in the MCU, but in the comics, his uncle was evil as well, because he was part of the Masters of Evil. The only two characters that I read that were in the Masters of Evil that are currently in the MCU or coming in December are Zemo and Doc Ock. So I don't think that Masters of Evil, that's where they're going with this, but those are at least two characters that are involved in it. So I think it was interesting that they brought up his uncle, for the fact that his uncle has such a pivotal role in the comics.
Yes, 100%. Here's why I was excited about the uncle. Is let's talk about the second post-credit scene just real quick. Did you see who was confirmed to be the person talking to him?
Mahershala Ali, Blade, baby. That's supposed to be coming out in 2022.
So we don't know when, though. Right. So Blade was born in like the 40s, right? Like he's pretty much, I don't know if he's immortal or if he's going to live for like just a long time or how it works. But I saw a really, really cool theory. One, Black Knight is probably going to be in the Blade movie in some capacity. Like I think that's what they were hinting at.
Oh,
two,
of course,
dude. What are the chances that Blade was was Dane's uncle's like fighters, like with him being very old, like he's probably seen one or two different Black Knights throughout history. And I could see Blade teaching Dane like the ways of the Black Knight. Obviously, like he probably has an idea of what it takes, but with Blade have fought in battle with the previous Black Knight, it would be really cool for him to show him the ropes.
Well, the reason why Blade has to ask it, he says, "Are you sure you're ready for this?" is because with the ebony blade, there's a curse.
Right.
The curse is that you succumb to the violence of the sword. And I can't remember what exactly was inscribed on the box, but it was
death is my reward.
Death is
my reward.
Death is its own reward, or death is my reward, because you're pretty much going to become very evil if you pick up this sword because it's cursed. I know in the comics, other people have used it, like Valkyrie, but she eventually gave it back to Black Knight. But whoever uses it succumbs to the violence that it has cursed upon it. So that's why Blade had to warn him and ask, "Are you prepared for this?" And I think that's 100% telling how Kit Harington is going to be. I think he's going to be have a pretty substantial part in the future of the MCU. Oh,
absolutely, dude. I like, again, we're not a Game of Thrones channel, but like I like Game of Thrones. I loved Jon Snow.
I know.
It was, dude, he was by far my favorite character. He was a badass. Yeah. So if Kit Harington is probably going to play a very similar role in the MCU, like a very similar type of character. He crushed the first one. I can only imagine the second time around it's going to be even better.
Yeah, definitely. No, I'm super excited to see his future. Do we have any more like lore about Black Knight that we wanted to talk about?
No, again, we're not going to sit here and say, "Oh, he did this and he did this and he did this." if you're interested in it, do a quick wiki search. Like, it'll be a nice little read, and it's probably best for you to read it yourself just so you can keep up with all the information that's on the page, because there's a ton of it.
Oh my gosh, yes.
There's a lot. So, go check that out, get familiar with the character. You're gonna be excited after is all I'm saying.
Oh yeah. So I think the final thing to talk about for Eternals is the first post-credit scene, which is Harry Styles' Star Fox, or otherwise known as Eros of Titan, which is Thanos' brother. What are your thoughts?
He's interesting. So, like, again, correct me if I'm wrong, he can basically not mind control, but kind of take control of people for a little bit and kind of manipulate them to do what he wants. He's interesting because he has a little bit of some scandalous behavior in the comics. Like, for instance, he takes over Gamora for a while and forces her into a relationship with him for a while.
Well, and my buddy actually told me this today too, is that he has a lot of the same powers as Icarus, but he can't do the laser eyes. But when you say take over people's minds, it's like he can create happiness, or joy in other people's minds. So I think that would kind of go along what you were saying about Gamora and himself.
Yes, that and his little, I think his name's Pip.
Yeah,
he's interesting. Like, I got a very brief synopsis of him. Apparently, he is the best partier in the galaxy.
Well, he comes drunk off his ass.
Yeah, so like he's kind of like a narrator through the comics. So, like, I'm kind of interested to see what they're going to do about him. Obviously, they did like the whole introduction. Like, I can't tell you exactly what he said, but he introduced him like brother of Thanos of Titan, Star Fox, otherwise known as Eros.
Yeah,
and he walks in and he goes, "Hey, what's up, y'all?" Like,
no, exactly.
Super interesting.
I didn't look this up before, but I believe I know who he was played by. Give me 1 sec. Did you have anything else on Pip while I was looking this up?
No, there's not a ton about it. He's just he's kind of a comedic relief character. Obviously he's not going to be out there and duking it out with the rest of them. He's just going to kind of be drunk and hanging out.
Yeah, and I was right. So when I heard it, sorry, I'm like with my pen, I'm flinging these wires everywhere. When I heard it, I could tell that was Patton Oswalt's voice. So, he was in shows like The King of Queens, and he's actually been in Marvel before. He was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He was like two twins. He played two identical twins, and he lived in a cave somewhere in the U.S. It was like a secret S.H.I.E.L.D. base. So he's been in Marvel before. He has kind of a pretty distinct voice.
Right.
So I just wanted to point that out. I thought that was pretty cool that
I'd love to see him and Rocket banter.
Yeah.
I think that'd be great. I think it'd be funny.
We've seen both of them drunk in the MCU now.
Yeah. And they're both kind of raunchy, to say the least. So,
and it was weird because Harry Styles and his character is what I had spoiled before the movie. And I had completely forgotten about that until the post-credit scene, because I see this elf pop out. I'm like, who is it? Or I don't know if he was an elf or what he was, a hobbit. I don't know what you would know.
I couldn't tell you exactly, but you know what he reminded me of was the pig thing from Hercules.
Phil?
What's his Phil? Yes.
Really?
Yeah, he reminded me a lot of him.
Yeah, I thought he was funny, and I didn't notice until he's introducing. I was like, oh, this is the scene. What's going to go on? Once again, just like Shang-Chi, when I was in theaters, I had a girl just screaming the entire movie, her opinions on the movie. And it's like, clap when you can clap. Cheer when you can cheer. Shut the hell up, though. Like, we don't need to know. Before Harry Styles comes walking up, she yells, "I wonder if it's Harry Styles." It's like, shut up. Like, why are you ruining it for others? These people are such trash. Like, have some decent human respect.
I was pissed. I had two guys, a couple rows in front of me, literally on TikTok, loud as hell throughout the entire credits in both post-credit scenes.
Really?
I was like, bro, turn your phone off. We're in a movie.
I had to shush the girl a couple times because Dude, it was bad. Like, she would not shut up during the movie. She would just scream her opinion. Like when Cersei and Icarus, after all was said and done, they're sharing another moment before he flies off into space. She was like, "Oh, don't kiss him, girl." Like, all this stuff. It's like, shut up. We don't need to hear your commentary. We did
Right.
not pay to hear you talk.
You are not the director. We don't
No.
want director's commentary in the theater. We don't want yours either.
No, exactly. I don't
No,
know.
I feel you.
I can't seem to watch a movie without just having one crappy audience member that just sticks in
Yeah.
my head and gets me mad.
Dude, so I gotta say, bro, this might have been some of the best CGI the MCU's had.
Yeah, it was very good.
The deviants were awesome. The scenes were incredible. I saw someone on Twitter today talking about the scenes where Makari was like running in obviously at super fast speeds. If you slow it down, bro, the transitions are gorgeous. If you slow it down, it looks like everything's moving in real time, which I feel like is, kudos, because like that can't be easy to do. Like, just phenomenal directing, the CGI, the story itself. I don't understand the bad tomato score. I don't get it.
I don't know.
I don't get it. And we won't get into it on here, but the reasons that they said that the movie was bad, if I wouldn't have read the review, I would have had no connection to those thoughts whatsoever.
Well, I know.
So I was just super confused. I'm like, I just didn't get it.
We saw that it got some bad reviews because of its wokeness. But I was reading some reviews and I didn't see anything about any of that. I didn't see anything talking about how the movie was woke, like out of the bad reviews. I just read a lot about how they just disliked the movie. They thought it was boring and everything. And I don't know. What happens is you're probably getting a lot of non-Marvel fans reviewing them because you have to have people review it from all types of backgrounds. So they're going to have some non-Marvel fans doing it. And already some Marvel fans aren't going to like it. But when you add critics that aren't Marvel fans either way, I can understand why they wouldn't like it because, it has no emotional investment for them moving forward because they're not looking at the future of the MCU or the history of the MCU. They're looking at this movie alone. So I can understand that to a point, but I don't know. I don't really care what they have to say, because I enjoyed it.
I also very much enjoyed it. That's one I'm gonna have to go rewatch. I might see it in theaters again. We'll see.
I definitely will.
Yeah, dude, it's dope. I found out the theater right next to me, it's $7 movie tickets all day, every day. So I'm like, damn, I might be hitting that theater up quite a bit then.
Why haven't you been going there?
I didn't know that it was $7 there.
But if it's the one that's closest to your house, why wouldn't you be going there?
Because we just moved here recently, and there's only been one movie I've seen in theaters since then, and we didn't go to this one. We went to a nicer one.
You and I saw the movie together. We saw Into the Spider-Verse.
That different theater.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is you've seen more than one movie.
Not since I've lived here.
Oh, I don't live with your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Do you officially live there now?
Pretty much, dog.
How much do you pay rent?
We'll talk about that later.
I'm kidding. You pay $0.
That's not true.
Oh, really? I didn't know. I didn't know that.
That's not true. That's not completely true. That's not completely true.
I didn't know that. I thought
we're making adult moves, dog.
Yeah.
Power moves.
I hear you.
So anything else about the movie you want to get into before we wrap this thing up, or?
Nah, I'm good. I think this has gone on long enough. I think this was an awesome conversation.
Anyone on TikTok has some final thoughts on the matter, make sure you drop them in there. We'll discuss them real quick.
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, guys, really quick, and we're not going to spend too much time on this. We do have a final confirmation of, we've finally seen Green Goblin, and the poster that was dropped for Spider-Man No Way Home. We do see Green Goblin in the back. I know you really liked the poster. I thought it was cool, but I thought they could have done a little better at it.
Well, with the given history of how absolutely terrible the MCU posters have been, bro, I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
They've been bad.
Yeah, we have to get a trailer pretty soon, but I know that Sony and Marvel can't agree on whether they want Toby and Andrew to appear in the trailer. Do you want them to?
Oh, I don't know, man. It's
I don't.
honestly, I think I'd be okay either way, to be completely honest.
Well,
Because
yeah.
if they don't put them in, it's going to be a surprise later. If they do put them in,
It's gonna be a hell of a trailer reaction.
I'm going to be hell of a trailer, right? So like either way, it's a win-win for the fans. Obviously, whatever's the smartest business decision, dude. There's so many leaks and stuff now that I feel like we know what's going to happen.
But yeah, well, yeah. I hope they don't show them, because I want for the first time that I see them, I want it to be in theaters, and I want to hear the theaters just erupt again. So, well, you and I are going to be seeing it because I will be out there. So, man. Bro, we're gonna get wild.
Yeah.
But do you have anything else before we go? I think that's all I have.
No, man, that's pretty much all my thoughts. End of the day, great movie.
Go see.
Great origin story. Really cool direction the MCU is heading. That's pretty much the gist of it. Definitely a movie I'd go see again. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out.
If you haven't seen it and you've been listening to this episode, you should not have been. Yeah. Well, we should have put spoiler in the TikTok live thing. But guys, thank you so much for joining up. And Alec's camera's fall.
Lost my camera.
Thank you so much for joining us for episode 51. It has been a pleasure just talking about Eternals. Thank you for everybody who was live in the chat on TikTok. We can't thank you enough for hopping in. We don't have too much content coming at you this week. We will have some type of collection / Funko Pop video coming out this week, but we're not 100% sure what that is yet. But you can tune in on Thursday to check that out. Don't forget to follow us on TikTok, pretty much everywhere at Carbonite Convos. And you can follow me both on Funko Stud on everything and at Fandom Facts, which that is where I'm broadcasting live now on TikTok at Fandom Facts. So you can check me out on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and obviously on TikTok at that, where, we just dive into some Easter eggs and facts from across a bunch of different fandoms in film. So definitely check us out. And you can find, finally, you can find Alec at Wallcrawler Pops on everything. But until our next video and until episode 52 next week, may the Force be with you.
Remember, the Force will be with you.